Hello and welcome back to Ashton United TV. I'm Tom Langford. I'm joined with Sean Fisher, Jake Maffo, and a very special guest on Robin's Roundup, Ben Hardcastle. Ben, how are you, my friend?
Good, mate. Yeah, very good.
Excellent. First of all, Ben, let's start by rolling back the years. What got you into football?
I think since I was about 4 or 5 years old, I've always had a ball at my feet. My dad really used to take us on park. We'd just be on park for hours playing footy, and then obviously once I turned 6 or 7, start playing your kiddies teams. Got picked up by Blackburn about 10-year-old. It just went from there.
Yeah. Who would you say was one of your biggest inspirations growing up?
Growing up, well, I'm a Leeds fan, so when I was like 8, 9, 10-year-old, I was obsessed with Alan Smith. Do you remember Alan Smith?
I do, yeah.
Blonde hair. So he was probably my idol growing up, and me and Arlu, my little brother, used to collect on stickers.
Yeah.
And Panini stickers. And one year, I can't remember what year it was. We was in Prem, but I think it was just before we got relegated. And Alan Smith was like the best player, and he was shining. One team.
Yeah, you get shiny ones. Yeah,
shining. Yeah. And we both needed him for Philip. Like we had everyone else. We had like so many swaps, and I got it. And he was about 6 or 7. He's crying his eyes out because he got Alan Smith shining. And I always remember that. I don't know why, but I always remember
that. You mentioned there as well that you started off at Blackburn and then went on to Morecambe. At what age did you join them, and how did you find that experience playing within an academy?
At Blackburn?
At Blackburn and at Morecambe.
So I started at Blackburn at probably 10-year-old, and I was there till, I think, 15, 16.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I mean, I think I've seen Clegg's video with you, and he's mad on letting kids play, and it has gone like that these days. And it was when I was coming through, everybody just wanted to be in an academy, and I did really enjoy it. It was hard on my mum because my brother was at Blackburn as well, but we train on different days. So I'd do like Tuesday, Thursday. He'd do like Monday, Wednesday, and then we'd play on a Sunday. But like say we had Sheffield United, one of us would be at home, one of us would be away. So it was hard work on my mum and my dad and whoever took us. But I loved it. I got released from there at like 15, and then signed a scholar at Morecambe, where you do YT sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. After Morecambe, you dropped into non-league playing for Pennington.
Yeah.
What would you say was the biggest shift you noticed from academy football straight down to non-league?
I don't know really. It was mad because when I got released from Morecambe, I was sort of down in dumps. I didn't get offered a pro. I probably contemplated just packing in, even just for a year or two. And I didn't know Clegg's at the time. And I met Clegg's at Pennington's presentation night because a few of my mates played for him. And you know what he's like. He's got gift of the gab. So I just got released from Morecambe. I remember having a few pints. I was probably 18, 19. So a couple of pints and I was on my way. And he just said, why don't you come pre-season training and see what you think? Like, and he sounded genuine. And I went down, done a few weeks, got fit, ended up doing a year there, done really well. It's Manchester Prem. Scored 20-odd goals from right wing and just started enjoying it again. And that's, I don't know, I always look back at that because my career could have gone down a different path if I didn't meet Cleggs. I don't know what I'd be doing. I might not be playing. So, yeah. I mean, when I left Coles, I've been at Coles for so long, and a few people, because I live in Everton, a few people are like, oh, why are you going? And they don't realise that if it weren't for him, I might have packed in. I might be doing something completely different. So yeah, the biggest change, I think it's just, I don't know, the standard of football's not massively different, really. Pace and power. You look at, like, my brother plays in Football League, and that's all he says. He says it's just pace and power, fitness and technical ability. Some great players at our level who could easily step up, and commitment as well. They're not as committed. You know what I mean? Some of these footballers, they don't have a drink. They don't have a social life. That's their life is football. Whereas some players who are really gifted, they don't take it as serious. I think that's the only difference really between non-league and the pro game.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned there as well that after you left Morecambe's academy, you felt a little bit down in the dumps. There's a few players that we've had on who've said a similar kind of experience after the academy. There's just this feeling of, where do I go next in my career? Do I hang up my boots or do I drop into non-league? Do you feel there's a need for more support for players when they are released from academies?
Yeah, I think especially in this day and age with all the mental health stuff going on, I think it was only the other month where the young lad at City, I don't know if you've seen it, I think he was 17, I think he got released and he committed suicide. I mean, that's an extreme case, but that does happen. And I wouldn't say I was anywhere near that sort of depression, but you just feel, you don't think of anything else at that age, do you? When you're 16, 17, 18, you're not thinking, oh, I'll go and be a PE teacher. You want to be a football player. So when someone takes that away from you at that age, you think that's it. It's end up world, isn't it? But you get into non-league and you realise there is a pathway there. How many players go from non-league and end up playing football league? It happens a lot more often than what people think, and I think that is because of the standard. And those one or two young lads, gems if you like, they do get seen. There's always scouts and teams watching our games because, like I said, there are some very good players at our level. Yeah,
definitely. Obviously, in recent years, Jamie Vardy and Mikel Antonio breaking into the Premier League as well, played non-league football. You mentioned as well that you met Michael Clegg at Pennington. What was your first impression you got from him as a manager?
Well, it's mad because everyone in Everton knows Clegg, so I'd heard of him before I'd met him, sort of thing. And everyone has a good word to say about him. I mean, you know what he's like. My first impressions were probably at the time. Obviously, this was probably 8 years ago. He's grown a lot as a manager since then. At the time, Pennington was just sort of, I don't know, getting as a house job for him. Like, I think he used play a little bit as well, player manager. So at the time, it was more of a bit of a laugh, especially at that standard as well, Manchester League. But then as we've gone through leagues and we've gone up a level, he's just become a lot more professional. He takes it so seriously now, and he speaks to me daily about what he's trying to get in there for next season. And he's mad. He's proper ruthless and relentless with it as well. But my first impressions were just loves football, wants to laugh, and that's what it was at the start. And it's just got more professional, more serious since then, really.
Yeah, definitely. After Pennington, you moved to Everton LR with him, and then further on to Everton Coles, where you went on to play over 250 appearances, winning 3 promotions as well. What would you say was the key behind that success?
We had a proper tight group, and obviously when we got promoted, he'd change 1 or 2, but he'd only bring in ones who, like, some of us might already know, who would fit in really well. We never had a squad probably above 17, 18. So some games we had like 3 on bench, but which some might disagree with, but we had a proper tight group. Like, everyone knew each other. We'd stay in clubhouse for hours after a game on a Saturday. All families were there. I think he's mentioned that's what it's hard at the minute, but that's what he wants to sort of create at Ashton as well, because it's only ever worked for him.
Yeah,
he has, like I said, my mum used to come, my nan and my granddad used to come, my girlfriend comes. And everyone knew each other. It was like one big sort of community within that club. And don't get me wrong, we had some good players, but I think that was the main reason why we done so well. Definitely.
Yeah. What would you say was your favourite moment during your Everton spell? Obviously, I can imagine there's quite a few to pick from there.
My favourite moment, the bank holiday Monday when we won the... We drew to Trafford actually, but it meant we won the league for the Eagle Stick, the one below us now. That was a big moment because it's a tough league to get out of that. There's some good teams in there. There's some teams in there. Clitheroe, we played them, didn't we?
Yeah.
There's some teams in there who would do really well in our league. It's really hard to get out of. That was more of a relief than anything. That we were scraping, because we were like 5 points clear, but we were scraping games 2-1 and not playing well. So when it happened, it was good. We've had a few. We had a couple of cup finals at Reebok, which were good. A couple of big games against higher teams. I think just before we left, we beat Boston 1-0. Brewster scored winner, actually. that was a big moment because I don't think we was in great form at the time as well. Which actually that Boston game set up the game against Barrow, which I was supposed to play against my brother, but I come to Ashton about 2 weeks before it. But yeah, no, there was some good ones. I think I'd probably say the Trafford game at home when we won league.
Yeah, a few players that I spoke to from Everton, especially I think Clegg said that game as well.
I was just about to say, is that not what Clegg said when we asked him his favourite?
Yeah.
Clegg said the exact same as well. He said it was a little bit of a mad one that bank holiday weekend.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of the man himself, you've only ever worked with Michael Clegg since leaving Morecambe. You briefly touched on it. Just why is that? Obviously, you mentioned that you owed a lot of your early part of your career to him, bringing you back into football and getting you back in love with it. What has he done for you as a player since then?
Loads off the pitch as well. Like, he lives around the corner, so even when we're out at footy, I see him all the time around Everton. Well, not at the minute, but I see him around Everton and that, and I'm dead close with his family. So, and I think it's more like he's been so loyal to me over the years. I feel like I owe him a little bit back, because there's been spells where, I mean, I don't think I started great at Ashton. I've been inconsistent, I think, but he's still stuck by me. There's been times at Coles where, like, he'll give me another year, another deal, another contract when maybe I didn't deserve one, or maybe not didn't deserve one, but I hadn't played as well as I thought I could. And then I'll come out to the side of it and then go on a big scoring run and score 10 in 10 or something like that. So I think it's loyalty is why I've stayed with him. And he's an unbelievable manager. Unbelievable. Like I said, now the depth he goes into, like opposition reports and stuff like that, like, we've got everything we need to go and win a game. We played York. I no stone unturned though. We had everything we needed to know about York, and I think that was why we won.
To be fair, I remember when he first turned up, and we were all sat in the gantry, and he turned up with his coaching staff, and we all thought, "These are the real deal here."
Yeah,
like the amount of studying they do. Yeah,
they complement each other so well. Like,
he did it against Radcliffe, didn't he? Even when he wasn't playing, even when he wasn't manager, sat in the gantry.
Yeah. He's obsessed. He's obsessed with football, right? And I think he feels like if he don't do an hour a night looking at something or working on something, he's not doing enough. And that's the sort of manager you want, isn't it, really? Because you know he's giving his all, so then you want to give your all for him.
Yeah, I'm going to say that it must motivate you more as a player, knowing that the man who is leading you is doing absolutely everything. Surely it makes you and the rest of the squad want to put in that 100% effort for him to basically reward him as well.
Well, that's it. No one I know, manager-wise at our level, is working harder than him out, like, off the pitch sort of thing. And I think, like you said, the players see that, and we're not daft, and you want to go and work hard for him because you know what he's doing behind the scenes.
Yeah. Looking a little bit away from Clegg, could you ever see yourself working for a different manager in the future? Is there one that maybe you would like to work under?
What at our level?
At any level.
Yeah, there's always. I mean, I'm a Leeds fan, so I'd love for
Bielsa,
just train with Bielsa's team, like, just for a week. Like, I hear so much about it. Like, I think they do something on every Wednesday. They do something called Murder Ball. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that. They play with like no rules. It's like you're not allowed to like not stop running. Yeah,
like there's no fouls or anything. So it's like 90 minutes without stopping. It's like he'd be the one. Obviously, that's top level. But just train with them for a week just to see what it's like, because it sounds madness.
I'm sure if you ask Clegg nice enough, he'll sort of Wednesday training session out like that.
Clegg probably knows him, to be fair. He knows everyone.
I think that leads us very nicely onto the next section of the show called Spill the Beans. So it's been a while since we have done Spill the Beans on the show. It's been a while since we filmed the show, actually. Basically, Spill the Beans is where we get the hot goss from Ben Hardcastle about the squad and a little bit about himself. Unusual questions that most interviewers don't usually ask. So we'll start off with the big one, Ben. Who's got the worst haircut in the squad? A lot of the players we've had on have said you, so it's time to defend yourself.
It's definitely not me. Do you know what? It would have been Josh Wilson. Obviously, he's not here anymore.
Yeah.
Rowan is. I mean, he ain't got many haircuts left, Rowan. And he always wears that hat as well for hiding. You know, that bad hat that don't even go up. Above his ears.
The fisherman's hat.
Yeah, it's awful. But Brewster's, have you seen Brewster's these days?
It's gone a little bit homeless, hasn't it?
It's a bit like Jake, to be fair. It's a bit like Jake's.
Jake Brewster and Tom Hardcastle.
I'd probably go Brewster, you know, because it's bad at the minute. He even gets like a little top knot here as well.
Ben, I'm gonna have to stick up for him then. So I actually quite like his hair. Would you believe?
I'm having Brewster. Brewster and Roney close second.
Right, okay. Well, who's the funny man of the squad? Who makes most of the jokes in the team?
Funny man. Probably. I don't want to say him, but probably Louis Almond.
Don't want to give it to him. Don't want to give him the credit.
He's quick. He's one of them. He's quick. You know what I mean? He's sharp. Like someone says to me, he's dead quick on it. So it's not even that funny half the time, because he's so quick. Him and Brad Lynch,
Can't help but give it to him.
Them two together, little bum chums.
Do you have any pre-game rituals for a game?
I have a bit boring. I have a Red Bull. No, I'm not like dead superstitious. You put right shin pad on before.
Is there anyone in the squad that's like any like socks on in a particular order or something?
I don't think so. I don't think there is, to be fair. I know Josh Wilson was mad about his socks because kitmen don't like you cutting socks, and he used to cut them no matter what. Like, you know, we got new kit. I think Stafford away. First time we won new own kit, or proper like first time proper, and he just cutting all socks. And he's not bothered, but he has to wear cut off socks. So I'm not that bothered. I will do the there. There's none really. Like you hear these. I think Daniel Sturridge has step on pitch with his left foot.
Yeah, there's some crazy ones in the Premier League, isn't there? Yeah.
I think
I just have a Red Bull and a Pro Plus.
It's Neil Warnock who's the worst for it, isn't he? Wore the same pair of shorts because he started winning them at QPR, and it ended up till December where he was still in shorts because they hadn't lost. So.
to be fair, that reminds me. The start of the season when we won. This is a couple of years ago now. When we won league at Coles, that one Trafford at home. I started the season on fire, and I scored in like first 6 games, and I wore the same pair of trainers to each game, and it kept working. And as soon as I didn't score, I just threw them off. I weren't bothered. I've not had that problem at Ashton, though. I've hardly scored.
We briefly touched on this in the last section. If you could relive one game in your career, which one would it be? I'm going to change it so it's just Ashton related. So you get to relive the whole day and the game. What game are you picking? Go on.
Because you said the whole day.
Yeah.
It's Morpeth away.
Yeah, 100%.
I think I scored my first goal. We went 1-0 down. They'd not been beat at home, I think, all season.
Missed the pen.
They missed a pen, yeah. Was that make it 2-0?
Yeah.
Might have been 2-1.
It might have been 2-1 or 2-0.
Shez scored a worldie, didn't he?
Yeah.
Get us back in it. And then I scored that header. And then the coach, it was like 5 hours or something, and it was just mental on that coach.
Do you do headers, Ben?
That's what it
was. That a rarity in itself?
It's the first one I've scored in a long time.
Right, okay. Who's the best player you've played with in your career?
Best player. It's a tough one, that. It's a tough one, that. I play with some good players.
Is Brewster going to be looking at the screen like, why have you not picked me already?
Brewster's watching this now thinking, I hope he says me. But he's miles off it. It's a tough one. Like, look, do you know what? Louis Almond on his day is very good.
Yeah.
You can see football league potential on him, can't you?
And John Lafudu, I've got to give him a shout, because like playing in front of him for, best part of my Ashton career, really. I just took inside and just let him have that flank. And the amount of times he just sprint past you. If his quality into the box was better, he'd be playing at Championship, Lafudu, for me.
You filled in for him quite well against York.
Yeah, I know that was the first as well. And JP's up there as well. They're 3 Ashton lads, but we've got some good players. JP's very good, technically very good. And I'm struggling to think back. I mean, this is the highest I've played at, really, so it's got to be someone from our team. I'd probably go JP, technically, unreal.
We love this one. If there was a film made about you, who would play you and what would the title be?
Do you know what? I went on from work before, I was thinking, because I can't remember, I think Rooney's the last time I watched one of these.
Oh, what did he say? Rowan Atkinson or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I was thinking, watching it, I was thinking, I'm not a clue what I'd said, but I went on from work, I was thinking, what if they asked me now, what am I going to say? And I've still not got a clue. But the actor, I definitely said Bradley Cooper, because he's an absolute boy, you know.
Yeah.
I watched The Star Is Born the other week. Nearly had me in tears. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what to call it though, but I'd definitely have Bradley Cooper playing me.
100%. Name? Can't think of one. Clegg and Co. There you go.
Clegg and Curtains.
Mr. and Mrs. Mr. and
Clegg and
Curtains. Next question. Funniest moment in your football career?
Funniest? Well, my memory's poor, but what came into my head first then was, what game was it you were liner for?
Mikolova.
Yeah. And we won, didn't we?
We did win. Some dodgy refereeing decisions that day as well.
That springs into my head because it was probably most recent. But yeah, I enjoyed that. I'd have been fuming if it was away at Mikolova and they put their media team online.
If you could play for any other manager other than Clegg, who would you be? You know what? I'm going to change that because of the fact that we have already touched on it. Touching on your Leeds, your support for them. Hypothetically, if Leeds came for you one day and they offered you a job and you would play for them full-time every game, week in, week out, but Clegg happens to be at United and asks you to come and play week in, week out, where would you go?
Easy, I'd go Leeds. In a heartbeat.
You're known for being in shape. 5K was obviously a thing during lockdown. What's your fastest 5K time?
I've just
we had a bet on this beforehand, by the way.
Have you?
Yeah.
My fastest one, I'd have to check my stride, but I think it's 17:32.
Oh,
that is
incredible.
And I've been doing them obviously since we've in this third lockdown. Yeah. And I'm getting just under 18 at minute, so that wasn't first one, so I'm a bit off that, yeah. But yeah, 17:30 something it is.
Sean thought you were an Olympian.
We were all having like pot guesses, and what did we get?
Sean was 15, like, 14 minutes.
14 minutes.
And I was like, hang on, the world record's 12. I was like, maybe.
I know, yeah.
All right, well, that rounds up that little round very nicely, and we can move on to the present tense. Right then, Ben, so we've already kind of touched on the reason why you decided to join Ashton, but other than the fact that Michael was there at the club, was it just the fact that it was a step up, in your opinion, that made you decide to come over?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even though we're still in the same league as Coles, I mean, a week or two after I joined, just the club and the people around it so much more professional. And I think that's not a disrespect to Coles. Ashton have been at this level for a lot longer, so their club is ran for this level of football, maybe even the league above. Whereas Coles are still they flew up the league and they're trying to catch up with them on the pitch, to be fair. But yeah, just the way the club's ran was a big thing. And then, like I said, two or 3 weeks in, I knew I'd made the right decision, even though we didn't start that well when we first come in. We had a few bad results. We had a tough run, to be fair. But even then, me and Clegg were saying we definitely made the right decision. The club's so much further ahead than where Coles were at that time. That may have changed. I'm not sure, but yeah, definitely the way the club is run and the stature of the club was a big part, as well as Clegg's coming.
Were you worried about the fact that you were joining a club that were on a downward spiral, or were you confident in Clegg's ability and the team's ability?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know any players coming in, but yeah, no, trusting Clegg's really. I knew that he'd know what to do. I knew he'd bring a few of the lads who was at Coles, and I thought it might take him time. It did. It took him a month, 5 games before we started winning. I think it was Stafford our first win, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But after that, we were flying. We was probably gutted that the season finished early because anything could have happened there. I think we had about 10 games left. And we weren't that far off on playoffs, and we were flying. I think our last
we were
game
top of the form table as well, weren't we?
Yeah. So yeah, I knew it'd take him a few weeks to get his, like you said, get his ideas across and bring 1 or 2 in, and maybe let 1 or 2 go. But yeah, I had every trust that he'd get us out of that, and he did.
You mentioned that you didn't know any of the players at the team really. How was it gelling with the squad? Did the arrivals of like Hartley and Brewster help? Or were you fine as it was?
They helped because obviously I knew him from Coles, but the lads who were there at the time, and it's changed a little bit now, but like Luca was great. I knew Connor Hughes, to be fair. He was at Coles with us the year before on loan. John O. There's a group of lads there. They was all great lads. For some reason, one reason or another, it just didn't gel for that, because there's some really good players as well. But yeah, there was all top lads like Shez. You can't meet a nicer group of lads, to be fair, and they were great with me coming in.
Do you think does having such a close relationship with the manager have its negatives? Like I can't help but relate to maybe being in school and being really close to your teacher.
Yeah, no, you can do.
Do you get the mick taken out of you or not?
Yeah, lads take the mick a little bit, but it's only light-hearted. It's little things. I don't have myself really, because I never drive. I always jump in with Clegg, so he's around corner. So like, they always take mick saying I'm a grass, and like I'll tell Clegg stuff, or do you know what I mean? Bruce is murder for that. But yeah, it's all light-hearted banter. It's not like, I don't think they actually. I don't know. I don't think they actually think it. I think it's just a bit of banter. I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Well, when you joined Ashton, we were right in the relegation zone. It wasn't going well, but like you said, it was promising because of all the changes that were happening. Did you have any personal goals that you can remember that you set yourself when you joined, and did you achieve them?
I think because obviously, like I said, travelling with Cleggs and that, we was just hell bent on making sure we got out of that. And obviously, with the start, we had South Shields FC, and Baseford, I think, was our first game.
It was Baseford.
It was a tough start, so that put a little bit more pressure on it, because you like to think you go into a new team, like a new club, and you hit the ground running. You see it all the time, don't you? In Prem, where like Allardyce does it every year, doesn't he? He goes in, gets them winning, and you'd like to think that would have happened. It didn't, but we stuck at it. I think goals-wise for myself was just to keep us up, and hopefully get a few goals along the way. It weren't really about me; it was about staying up. Obviously, we did that. I think I scored 2, which isn't great. I probably would have, if I was to set a goal with, I don't know, was it 20 games left, 15, 20 games, I probably would have said 5, realistically 5, 6, 7-ish. Because I think that season I'd been injured as well. I hadn't played that many games for Coles, and I only scored about 5 for them. So I weren't in great form, and I probably weren't at match fitness as well. So it was just about staying up, really.
Arguably, you got the ball rolling though, because it was your corner that got us our first win.
Yeah. And on that video, one of you saying for being me off. Who is it? Which one of you?
Moving on. To be fair, if you watched after that, I did say I was eating my words. But yeah, speaking of which, something we spoke about before was also the fact that like you've shown a bit of versatility around the pitch. Do you have a favourite position?
I think if I was to pick, I do like it on the right. It depends on the game. Like if the game's open, and we like say you got Shez on the ball and he's pinging balls out wide, then I prefer it on the wing, because I get a lot of the ball then. I get a chance to run out the fullback. But if it's a bit scrappy, I prefer being 10 in mix of it, just behind, say, like Louis Almond or Tom Bentham. But I think that just depends on how the game's set up, and you can sort of work out what the game might look like, but you never know until you play it. But I think I would say I prefer it in the 10. I think I've had my best games, even for Coles, in the 10. Maybe not for Ashton, but over the years, I think I've had my better games, scored more goals in the 10. So I'll probably say that.
Oh, so you don't think we'll be seeing you at right back much more then?
No.
All right, well, it'll be interesting. Go on.
Brewster was called me Trent for about 2 weeks after that.
You got an assist there, didn't you, as well? You
No,
definitely
I
did something.
slipped.
Or did you
I slipped
win a
Louis in
pen?
that line.
Oh yeah,
I
that was
slipped
it.
Louis in
Yeah,
and he pulled it back to Brad, I think.
yeah.
I'll take it
Well,
though.
no, exactly. Well, it'd be interesting to see how things go. Of course, we've not really had enough time to see it because of the way the season's been going.
Yeah.
But I think it leads very nicely onto Sean looking at the future, because we haven't really had that much to talk about this season, except for the fact that we've had a half-hearted, decent cup run. How was that with the squad? Because it will have been disappointing to have gone out, but
I know,
got as far as we got.
It was great that, because at the time we weren't playing league matches. And one of the things Clegg, I think Brewster mentioned it on the interview with Tom other week. One of the things Hildy and Clegg kept saying is, you win, you play again, and I think that's what helps us really. Even though we were playing South Shields and York, like we thought, well, at least we're getting another game, because you don't know when your next game's coming, and that's all we want to do is just play. Honestly, I can't tell you how boring it is just going for 5Ks and. Even at school the other day, I'm kicking a football and I'm kicking it everywhere. I've not touched a ball for God knows how long, and it was just literally, you win, you play another game, and that was our only incentive, and it worked, because I mean we beat some really good teams on that cup run.
Really did.
Should have beat
Unlucky as well.
Kettering. I think we should have beat Kettering.
Yeah, well, it was unlucky that we didn't continue that run, but thank you very much, Ben. It leads nicely onto Sean.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to do at the minute, but trying to look forward, I guess, into the future. I guess you can't really tell what's coming next week, never mind next month or next year. But just in regards to this season, I don't think we actually know how it's ended so far. But I'll open it up to everyone, but how do you think it should end? Obviously, it's been discussed null and void, points per game. I think they discussed that north and south divide, didn't they, at one point or something? Yeah. I
think that one you said last, that north and south would be the more realistic one. If you think about it, I think we've only played 7 games, haven't we?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it 30 odd games we've got left?
Yeah.
So you'd have to.
It's way too early to give a decision to anyone, really, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't. I mean, if we split it half and half, then you could realistically, you might end up going over into summer a little bit, but you could realistically finish that. But it does sort of damage the integrity a little bit into it. Where, I mean, I was speaking to Ildi about this the other week, and he was saying, what if you've got a team in the south who go down on 6 points, but then the team in the north go down on 18 points? You know what I mean? It's not fair. And instead of second bottom's on 8, when them two would have gone down. There's loads of things like that. I was speaking to someone else as well the other day who was saying that they're gonna vote about whether they try and start the season where we are now, 8 games in or 7 games in, which I think it's not ideal, is it? But
no,
it's probably
football back.
Yeah.
So I think you mentioned it before, but do you think it's the general feeling amongst players that you just want to get back playing again, even if it is staggered return?
Yeah, anything really, even just training. Even if we could get back in training as soon as possible, that just being around lads, it's so mentally as well. It's so good for you mentally, just being around lads and kicking a foot, even if it's just 5 sides, and then building towards maybe looking for a game, and that is the main thing. Because, like I said, we've been doing runs and hit sessions with Brewster and that, and they're all well and good. They do keep you ticking over, but nothing replicates.
Nothing like a bit of competitive football,
No.
And you touched the mental side of it as well. It's as a player playing without a crowd, has it affected you? I know it's not obviously the thousands in the Premier League, but is it weird playing in front of no one? Yeah,
I think Scarborough away was weird, because we was having, I don't know why we didn't have fans there when we won. I think that was FA Cup early in the season, and we had fans at Stafford the week before. We had 600 there, and then we couldn't have them at Scarborough, so that was weird. But then obviously
it was so inconsistent.
Yeah, I got used to it a little bit, because it was 3 or 4 games on bounce without any fans. So, and like I said, at our level, it's not a massive difference, is it really? As opposed to Prem and Championship and that. I mean, it is a different. Obviously, we want fans there, because that's. I mean, and they make the game. If it weren't for fans, then we wouldn't bother, would we?
Yeah, exactly.
But I can't say it was massively different for us. I mean, we get 300, don't we? And when you're in the game, you don't really know they're there, to be honest with you. You're that focused on the game. But obviously, we want fans back as soon as possible.
Yeah. I know you mentioned before about Atherton as well, that you had a really close group of players. Has it affected that in a sense that you haven't really been able to get to know many players? Yeah.
Yeah,
I can imagine that being a pain.
Me and Brewster was on about that the other day, because obviously Brewster did a bit of calls and he's seen what it was like, and obviously that was the aim going into Ashton. That's what Cleggs and Eildon wanted, and it's just been so hard. Like not even being able to go for a beer and like having like a bit of a team night out.
Yeah.
I mean, we did it early on, like I said, the Morpeth trip, and that was good. That brought us all together a little bit, and I think that's why we went on a really good run after that. But like this new group of players, we've signed quite a few in the summer. We've not really had a chance to bond. And we do have, I mean, everyone gets on, everyone's mates and that in changing rooms, but them nights out are what make your team, really. And that gives you that bond and that togetherness that we did have at Everton. But I mean, we have still got it now. I think it just could be a lot stronger if we did have them team events. Yeah,
definitely. And I mean, we don't really know when it's going to be eventually, the new season. Are you fit, raring to go?
Yeah, fit.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
I'm probably as fit as I've been, because like I said, these 5Ks, they're not easy. And mentally as well, I'm like, I need to beat my time, so I do push myself. It's different to be match fitness, of course, but ready as soon as they said we can play, I'm ready as they can be.
Mm. And for the new season, do you ever set like personal goals, amount of goals, assists that you want?
I wouldn't say assists. I'd say goals. I think realistically, if I can get double figures, I'd be happy.
We'll hold you to that next season.
Yeah, anything above 10 is a bonus.
And then just to round it off, really, what's your hopes for the entire club next season? What's the aims?
I think with the squad we've got, we said it at the start of this season, like we've got to be looking at going up. I mean, there's only one team really who I look at and think, they're probably, if we both play as well as we can on the day, South Shields would beat us. That's the only team I look at and think they probably are better than us. I mean, we beat them, didn't we? But that was a one-off.
Even then, we gave them a game,
Yeah, I think they're the only team. Other than that, I don't look at any other team and think they're better than us. It is just about consistency and performing on the day. And I think we've got to be looking at automatic promotion or playoffs at least.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Double figures and promotion. That'll be nicely.
Yeah, perfect, won't it?
That's perfect.
I think that's everything, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, please, that lovely. Thank you very much for your time, Ben.
No worries. Cheers, boys.